Merry Christmas, everyone, and welcome back to the New World Old Soul podcast. We so appreciate you being here. Before jumping in today's confrontation or dispute, because Melissa and I had a minor disagreement that we're going to be discussing here on the podcast, I'm going to ask that you at least consider liking, commenting, subscribing, and also hitting the notification bell so you know when it is that we release new content. Merry Christmas, Mama.
Merry Christmas.
How you feeling? We got a few days left. Are you shopping done?
I got my shopping done, but I broke my butt.
Wait.
We
Oh,
went
yeah.
we went ice skating.
Story time.
Yeah, we went ice skating with the family last night. And I obviously thought, okay, it's way safer if I don't ice skate. I'm pregnant. I can't fall. So I stay on the outside of the rink. Well, it is a snowy and icy environment that we live in, and I had rubber boots on, and I'm walking and I fall like on this frozen puddle thing because it was water. So I
Ice.
thought it
It's
was just
ice.
water. And then there was ice under the water, and that's what made it extra slippery. And I felt like in a pike in a wet puddle. So then I looked like I peed myself. It
Whoa,
hurt
whoa, whoa.
so bad. And this teenager literally pointed from the ice and laughed at me and was like, ha ha ha.
Which actually pisses me off. I wish I had known
You
that.
fell off the ice too. And I was like, obviously he didn't know I was pregnant and everything, but I was like, what the I'm all yelling at some random
Melissa
teenager.
almost Karen'd out.
I totally Karened out. It hurt. I was wet. I was worried about the baby because I felt like the position I fell really hard.
Yeah, I asked you if you were okay and you were concerned. You said no.
Well, because I'm not like gonna end ice skating to go to the ER,
Well,
you
it's
know,
fine.
like.
What do you mean? Why not?
Well, because he or she was like bumping me, bumping around and moving around, and like I was like, okay, I'm just wet and cold and sore. So now, pretty much from like my hip to my knee is all bruised.
Real quick,
And
because I know it's gonna bug you later. You have a small piece of lint there on your left.
why are you
On your
looking?
left. You know, I mean,
Why are
come
you
on now.
looking?
Hey. Before jumping in after that short little story there, let's talk about Black Rifle Coffee really quick as I crack open
Ooh,
my espresso with cream coffee beverage. You had hosting duties last week. You and Avea reviewed
mm-hmm.
the fact that we have a deal going with Black Rifle Coffee. You want to
Yeah,
get some last minute Christmas shopping in. Great option for you. We are very passionate, genuinely, about Black Rifle Coffee. Number one, their coffee is great, tastes amazing, and it's something that I personally have been drinking for probably at least 6 years now. So to have them on board and have all of these coffee options, I've been extremely, very highly caffeinated these past few days because we have a abundance of Black Rifle coffee in the
yeah,
house. Our favorite,
yep. Tried
without a
and
doubt,
true.
Beyond Black. We like the dark roast. This stuff is absolutely excellent. Also, maybe you're not a coffee drinker, but you enjoy some sweet looking merch. I actually have one of their shirts on.
Yeah, I love that one. That's funny.
It's the Bok Bok with the pew pew.
The bok bok with the pew pew.
So check them out. Black Rifle Coffee. We will leave a link as to where it is that you can find all of their stuff down below.
Yeah, right
Uh,
now they have a sale for 30% off. So if you go to our link, it's 30% off everything. That makes these $11, which is a crazy good deal. So
Good
yeah,
deal. Great coffee.
best coffee.
Check them out. As I begin to sip on this here, we're going to be discussing those who are and are not deserving of sympathies because it's been a really weird, to say the least, a very bizarre week in the media and social media across the landscape. We are being invaded by drones, apparently, which we wanted to talk about, but there really isn't all that much information that has been made available because nobody knows what to make
Right.
of these things. We don't know where they're coming from, who's responsible, what it is that they're doing, but they're popping up everywhere. I think New Jersey has been the focus, but up and down the West Coast,
They're
now
all
Texas
over.
as well.
Dallas.
Um, so yeah, like I said, very weird week. But as far as people who are and are not deserving of our sympathies, we have the United Healthcare CEO who was murdered in cold blood savagely on the streets of New York City about a week ago or
Brian
so now.
Thompson. Yeah.
Brian Thompson, the shooter has since been identified and arrested, and the
As Luigi Ravioli.
Mangione. And this guy is being celebrated and glorified while the actual victim of said homicide is being demonized, seemingly,
hmm
by the masses. This has become a thing across social media. So we want to touch upon that. And then also, Lily, what is her last name? I've got it.
Got it. Hold
Yeah,
on.
we should
Lily
know these
Phillips.
things. Lily Phillips.
I was going to say Thompson, but that's the
And
CEO.
that's what I was going to say too. That's funny. She is a OnlyFans creator. As we jump into this, I want to
Creator.
put out there that this is going to be a discussion of some pretty adult conversation.
Yeah.
So if you have kids with you in the room, we would ask that before jumping into that, as we jump into that, that you maybe hit pause, remove them from the room. If you're in the car, again, stop and maybe revisit it later, because adult in nature. We
Hmm.
wanted to discuss it because the reactions to that has also been very, very interesting.
Yeah.
We'll get into the details here in a bit.
And we're not even agreeing on that.
And we
So,
are not in agreement on that, which is interesting, and which is why I wanted to
yeah.
bring it up here in the podcast.
All right. So let's jump into this whole CEO thing. So, Brian Thompson, a lot of people have already heard about this story. Brian Thompson, CEO of United Healthcare. It is the largest healthcare corporation
Insurance company, yeah.
in the
Yeah.
country. They have 49 million
Users.
users. Brian Thompson gets paid $10 million a year. That's his total package.
A
That
lot of
includes
scratch.
personal security. He travels with a personal security detail. He has 24/7 security, which is kind of odd that a CEO would even need something like that. But recently, the DOJ opened an investigation into United Healthcare because they have some insider trading going on. They had created some kind of monopoly, or they're being accused of creating a monopoly
By the Department of Justice.
by the Department of Justice.
Very interesting.
Very interesting because our own Congress, the Pelosi's for one, have been brought up over the past 20 years as people that dabble or make a fortune,
Allegedly. Only
allegedly.
not allegedly.
But but if you ask her about it, she will become very angry and dismissive of you.
Very defensive. You're referring to
Very.
that old press conference where she
It was like from
asked.
2008.
Yeah, the Pelosi's have benefited tremendously. There are people who follow all of their trading tips, I guess you would say. There's somebody who like developed an app. You aware of that?
Around the Pelosi's insider trading.
Around where it is that they are investing their money, so that you can do the same, because they don't seem to miss.
Right. So there was like this whole bill being presented basically saying that Congress cannot buy and sell stocks because they have insider information. If
Yeah,
the
they know what's going to
DOJ is
happen.
going to launch an investigation, well, Congress gets a heads up on that. Therefore, if you own that stock, like the Visa debacle, when Visa was going to be investigated, then it's Paul Pelosi. Like he sold a bunch of stocks. Well, rumor has it the same thing happened with United Healthcare.
So we're getting conspiratorial right off the bat here.
There's some conspiracy. I'm not saying this is true or not. The conspiracy is that they were given a little inside information that the DOJ was going to launch this investigation and that possibly Brian Thompson was going to be testifying about it.
Okay.
So that's one conspiracy. But there's so many more swirling around about this.
Okay, the subsequent fallout from this, since he was killed. I mean, the guy had a family. He was married. I guess their marriage was a little on the rocks. They were
Yeah,
not-
that's one of the other stories is the fact that his wife, this man makes $10 million a year. The wife and him have been separated, but they're still raising the boys together. She lives 1 mile from him
Okay.
in a home that he paid for.
Regardless, I think the part of this that bothered me the most was across, specifically social media. The fact that people were celebrating this guy's death because they felt as though he was deserving of what it is that happened to him because of his position as the CEO of a major health insurance corporation, and all of the negative decision making, I guess, is the perception, as far as people who have their claims denied, which I get. I completely 100% understand. However, I don't think that justifies in any way the killing of just what is really just a figurehead
Right.
of a company.
Well, I think the really dangerous part of that is now we've got TikTok and X and all these other platforms where people are making videos praising this man's murder, praising the man who did it,
Mangione.
Ravioli, and then like women are literally simping over this man, the outfit that he wore during the shooting, and then the outfit that he wore because I think he had 2 jackets on, because a lot of people were saying that, no, he was too heavy set in the shooting video compared to when they released the suspect. It's not him. But I think he had 2 jackets on because his jacket changes when he's checking into a hotel. But they later in an alley found a backpack, the backpack he was wearing in the shooting with the jacket he was wearing in the shooting, a water bottle with his DNA on it, which to me seems so planted, doesn't it?
Potentially. I don't know. Yeah, the evidence seems pretty damning. I mean,
It
Who's to say whether or not
I'm
this is
not
all?
saying that this is not the shooter. I actually think this is
I,
the shooter.
I mean, I guess I would too, without knowing all of the facts and details. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, these jackets that he was wearing, he had this Tommy Hilfiger jacket on. It sold out online. It is now being resold on different sites for like 4 and 5 times what it's worth because
Secondary
people want
market.
to dress like this new visual anti-hero.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's so disturbing to me. He's being absolutely glorified. So the clothing he's wearing, all of the photos that are being released of him online, or they're describing him and making him out to be like this very mysterious, this man of mystery who's lived like such a interesting life. And look at him here. He is hiking in Hawaii, which I'm sorry, I really upset me the fact
It
that he
was
had any ties to
the
Hawaii.
last place he lived was
But
Honolulu.
he's looking all jacked and like, oh my gosh, look at this guy. Let's fawn over him. He's a righteous
Mhm.
hero acting justifiably in murdering somebody. And on top of that, ooh, couldn't be tastier. Like, what are we doing here? Come on, really?
I didn't find him that tasty, but I think it's really, really weird that everybody has not everybody, but a lot of people have 0 sympathy for a father of 2
Yeah.
shot in the back in
Yep.
cold blood
Hmm.
at 6:45 in the morning, broad daylight. Nobody cares about this man. Everyone's like, "Good, one CEO down." There was
And all just
literally
because of his job title, solely
yeah.
because of that.
But there was literally like a freeway sign in Seattle that said like one CEO down, many more to go.
And so this is becoming the new thing. This call to take out these major figureheads.
Yeah, there's and and it's gone like so much further than that too. There was a lady that made a TikTok video saying that we should because it was a McDonald's worker that identified the
Oh
shooter
yeah.
that we should now she's saying, "I'm not calling for this. I'm just saying it would be funny if" oh, then you're calling for it. Beat up McDonald's workers, and then when they go to the hospital and their insurance is denied because it wasn't an actual emergency or whatever, then maybe they'll understand why they shouldn't have turned this guy in. So now we're like targeting all McDonald's workers because it was McDonald's where this man was identified.
It's like the Joker. Like you can
Yes.
justify anything.
Yep.
If you view it as being righteous, then it's okay.
Yep.
But you get to set the criteria as far as what is or is not righteous.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of brings you back to like the whole Unabomber thing. There's a lot of people that bought his writings and rantings and everything, and we're like, yeah. I mean, some of his words, I can read his words and
Yeah.
go, yeah, that makes
No, his
sense.
manifesto is spot on. I mean, it's creepy, the accuracy with which he kind of predicted what was to come.
Yeah, but uh, Luigi's manifesto was not quite as intelligent. It
No,
really wasn't. And first off, I do not agree with what the Unabomber did at all.
no,
This is an evil person that did
again,
horrible things to innocent people.
yes,
The way he went about it does not make him a hero; it makes him a coward.
absolutely agree.
So same with Luigi. His manifesto was like, "I don't really know," and, like, it was you can look it up, it's made public. It was pretty weak. Um, he was valedictorian at his high school. He went to an Ivy League school. He was very big on psychedelics,
Rich family.
rich family. He apparently was born with a spinal issue where it was not aligned correctly. His spine's not aligned correctly, so for his entire life, he's been plagued with these spine back injuries.
Right.
He was never not denied medical care or anything like that. He was never a customer of United Healthcare, and he did come from a well-to-do family, went to private school, went to this expensive university, all this stuff.
Right.
So it's not like he has like a personal bitch in the fight. It doesn't really make sense.
So I saved this last night because it just came across my feed on the Facebook, the book of Face at like 1 o'clock in the morning.
This
So,
is what you're doing at
well,
one
this
o'clock in the
dives into
morning.
his background, and I should have been more set up with this, but let me play it anyway, see if we can pick up on the audio here. Because yeah, this guy, like I said, he's being romanticized tremendously, and his background is a very unique one. But it does seem like something's up. Like what happened, and how does somebody with his background, with his upbringing, end up in this
Hmm.
situation doesn't necessarily seem like he has any kind of personal vendetta, like you said.
Your red flags, clean slate, sharp dressed, photogenic, active on social media, vacations abroad, post polished photos, looks like he's thriving, lands internship and builds a resume that screams success, spends free time exploring AI mushrooms and self optimization trends, writes a Goodreads review on Ted K sprinkles and safe edgy, joins the professional world, follows the system scripts perfectly, no sign of instability, Just another rising star in tech scene, disappears with friends for 3 months, then he kills the CEO.
Credit to Patrick Bet-David. That's from his podcast. But yeah, very interesting background. And I guess the part that I find the most disturbing about this, like so oftentimes is the case now, is the fact that we are celebrating the person who should be, looked at as being having to be held accountable for a heinous, horrific act, regardless of the circumstance. I think if this guy were anything other than the CEO of a massive healthcare insurance corporation, that the reaction most definitely would not be the same.
Hmm. No, totally agree. One, it's really crazy. It's like he wanted to go down as like this social justice hero. He's a self-proclaimed anti-capitalist,
Mhm.
and just because he was valedictorian and just because he went to an Ivy League school, he's a engineering graduate. He's very book smart. Maybe he can memorize things, but that doesn't mean that he has wisdom.
Doesn't
That
mean he knows better.
everyone's like, oh, he's highly intelligent. That's not necessarily intelligence. That could actually be indoctrination,
It's educated. He's more
yes,
educated than your average citizen.
which isn't always a great thing when it comes to these social issues. Because when he was being brought in the prison and he's like yelling and like ranting, it's
Right.
hard to make out what he's saying, but he says something about um not life experience. What is that tagline that like all the like extreme lefties are using?
One of the most important things in life is sleep, and it feels like everyone wants to turn our sleep into a science project. Watches, bands, straps, rings, endless devices that present fancy dashboards of data, and yet none of them actually solve the problem. They just tell us about it over and over again.
If you struggle to fall asleep or stay asleep, you are not alone. And so often the biggest problem is noise, which can actually take many forms, from snoring to the noises in our mind, like anxiety.
Also created the ultra comfy noise blocking sleep earbuds for the best sleep of your life. And unlike other earbuds, they're actually perfect for side sleepers because they don't stick out, causing undue pressure on your inner ear. Also, every piece that touches your ear is made from super soft, buttery smooth silicone.
They also last all night with a 10-hour battery life, and for additional charges in the case, which makes them perfect for travel, they have been engineered to block out sleep-disrupting noises in your environment. And you can also stream anything you'd like this podcast, ASMR, or your favorite audiobook. The biometric sensors built into the sleep buds detect when you actually fall asleep and can automatically switch from streaming to masking sounds to keep you disruption-free.
There's even an in-ear personal alarm feature that will gently wake you up from your sound sleep without jarring your partner. And as the case charges on your nightstand, sensors actually detect noise, light, and temperature in your environment and will provide you with a personalized report in the Oslo Sleep app.
So if you want to give Oslo a try for yourself or for someone on your Christmas list that struggles with sleep, just click the link down below and use our code NWOS to get $10 off your first pair of Oslo Sleep Buds today.
I can't even remember.
I'm blanking out.
Yep.
So the podcast will do it to you. You come in here, all of a sudden you forget
It's like
everything.
shoot, I gotta look it up.
Okay, while you're doing that, let
it's
me
driving
ask
me
you, do you
crazy.
think, because I guess part of what I find so concerning about this, and it's kind of like the whenever we have these types of incidents in schools, is you always have to worry about the copycats. And so now, like, the legacy media outlets will not post photographs or use the name of the alleged shooters or killers. Do you think that moving forward, given the way that this guy is being glorified, that there should be concern amongst people in positions of power?
I think so, because the more he's glorified, the more people are going to want to go out there and
And
be glorified
copycats,
also. Like if
right?
they feel like they have nothing going on and they're mad about some stuff, then yeah, I could see it. Okay, I can't figure out what it is.
Okay.
I don't want to waste a bunch of time looking at it, but it's saying what is like this is affecting my life experience. And it's this tagline that they all use, and it's like people will say, they're asking like, what is your life experience? It's something like that's how you know this guy's a lefty
You'll remember it as soon
extremist.
as we stop these
I
cameras and walk
will.
out of here.
Um, but he screams it as they're taking him into the jail.
I saw
He's
that.
yelling it at the camera, and that's like a dead giveaway. And basically, when people ask that question, it's how do you feel wronged by society?
Hmm.
Is the question he's being asked, and he's yelling, "I had this bad life experience, my experience at
Yeah,
life," and
they're trying to articulate some sort of justification. If you feel wronged in any way,
yes,
then you are justified in your actions, which of course couldn't
right,
be further from the truth.
and you're justified in it based on your personal truth only,
Yeah,
not on any reality or
totally
facts.
anecdotal experience.
Yes, it's
Yes.
very like, what is your personal experience? And therefore, it justifies the way that you feel and the way that you act because it's how you personally have been wronged. It's never a positive question or a positive statement. It's how have you been wronged by society?
I think most of the fascination to come along with this, especially moving forward, is going to come from females, such as yourself, the Dateline
What do you mean,
NBC crowd.
such as yourself?
Well, there
I
are
don't
there are
think
a lot of.
Ravioli's a good-looking dude.
I'm not saying for that reason, but there are a lot of very interesting facts and circumstances regarding his background and everything it is that led up to this incident, and it makes for the perfect Dateline NBC episode. I guarantee we will be seeing documentaries about this guy in the year or two to come.
Yeah.
Mark my words.
Well-
And you and so many others, because so oftentimes it is the females who get sucked into these storylines. Why do you think that is?
I don't know why. I don't know if it's like the fixer crowd of women that when like Ted Bundy had a bunch of women simping over him. And he had so many women trying to like write him love letters, become his girlfriend. A woman had a child with him after he was found guilty of all these crimes. Not even sure why that was being allowed. Charles Manson had a bunch of women that were just like screaming over him like he was a rock star. What are the brothers?
The
rich-
Menendez
The
brothers.
Menendez brothers. Women are fawning over them. We've got Kim Kardashian and visiting them in prison. What are you doing?
Yeah, I don't understand that part of it. I pulled this up. I'm gonna play it. It's from Bill Burr, who's a comedian. This just serves as a great example and illustration of how people are justifying the actions of this guy. I love Bill Burr. I'm a massive Bill Burr fan. I love his entire bit on his comedy special when it came to abortion. I love stand-up comedy, but his take on this, I could not disagree with him more. Let me play this real quick and make sure my volume's cranked up.
It's a dirty game, Paul. Healthcare. Healthcare. Dirty game.
It's a dirty game. I tweeted last night. I go, the CEO of Aetna called a meeting today. They're going to relook at some of those claims they denied.
You know what's f***ed up, Paul, is I've been doing a bit in my act. I was saying, like, how f***ing great would it be to see, like, you know, the head of f***ing Walmart gets whacked by the head of the f***ing Target guy, have a nice old-fashioned war and just thin the herd and keep
Yeah.
everybody honest. But the problem is those guys are all on the legal side of stealing. That's a soulless f***ing business, dude.
So I heard
Okay.
ex-military.
You get where that's going. I'm
Right.
gonna pause it because of the vulgar language. Apologies for that. I'll do my best to clean that up as well. But again, he's just justifying if you are in a position of power, you are somehow evil based on your actions or decisions, and because of that, you're fair game. It'd be great to literally thin the herd, as he puts it. How are we making any argument for the senseless killing of people based, again, solely, seemingly, on their positions? I guess this bothers me more as a former police officer because that applied there as well. People, not everybody,
Yeah.
I'd say the minority of people, but at times I did have to question whether or not that was the case. But it seemed like people would celebrate the death of people in law enforcement
They were
just
at that
because they
time.
were cops.
Yeah, like during that time, it started with Trayvon Martin, you know, and
Yeah.
everyone was on his side.
Mhm.
And then we had George Floyd, and then George Floyd became this martyr and this like perfect angel that was savagely murdered, and everybody sided with George Floyd. And then it was like police are so bad, and every time an officer would be killed in that time period, it was like making pigs fly, one last pig.
Yeah, all cops are bastards.
Yep. And nobody was thinking about the humanity of these officers just wanting to go home
Yeah.
at the end of the day. And it's another case of nobody cares about Brian Thompson, but everybody is siding with this shooter because he has handsome eyebrows and is flirty with the desk girl.
What's the name of the subway guy that was just acquitted
Yeah,
for his
Daniel Penny.
actions? Exactly the same thing, right? Well, as far as where it is that we are issuing our own personal sympathies, this guy's been demonized in the media for acting, per my view, heroically. He took
Yes.
action when nobody else was willing to, with somebody who was acting very erratically and placing others, the general public,
He-
in danger. He took action boldly.
Yep.
Unfortunate circumstance with the end result, but that's not something that should be attributed to him. Just as was just like with what's his name? You just referenced him,
George Floyd.
George Floyd. Same thing. Have your opinion all you want, but look up excited delirium. That is a phenomenon. That is a thing, and that is what both of these deaths in particular should be attributed to, not the actions of the people who were acting heroically in the case of
Yeah.
Subway fella.
Yeah, Daniel Penny, he witnessed a man who just happens to be of a darker pigment, which is why all of this happened.
Fit the
If-
narrative.
If it were a white guy doing the exact same thing and the exact same thing happened, or an Asian guy, then this would not have blown up like it did in the news.
And again, I want to emphasize, it is an unfortunate circumstance that anyone has to die in any of these cases.
However, that man died because he took a bunch of drugs. He went
Yes,
onto a subway. He was threatening to kill people
correct.
and rob people. And Daniel Penny, who had some experience, he was a military guy,
Yeah.
decided to choke this man out.
He took action. He did not
Totally
stand by
fine.
idle.
Yeah. What would have happened if that guy actually did kill somebody?
Right.
So he just put a stop to ridiculous behavior that should never be permitted. And it's good that there's people willing, because we were just discussing how most people just stand there and freeze,
Yeah.
and bad things happen to good people because nobody wants to step in anymore.
Yep.
Well,
And,
Penny
and
was
this is why.
Penny was willing to step in when he choked this guy out. When paramedics arrived on the scene, he was still breathing, still had a pulse, all of this stuff. He died from excited delirium. He took a bunch of drugs during the altercation. Because he was so high, he had a heart attack.
Overheated, had a heart attack,
Yep.
ends up becoming deceased,
Right.
unalived.
And then, of course, you have these overzealous prosecutors that made this some social
You become a
political.
political pawn, which is the
Yep.
reason I left law enforcement. That was a huge part of the motivation for me. I was not going to be a political pawn for anyone. I'm not going to have my name associated with any kind of a false narrative to
Mhm.
push the agenda of somebody else. Was never going to happen.
Right. So, yeah, that's why it was time to leave in 2020.
Yep.
That was because I told you back then, my biggest fear for you was not even being killed at work. My biggest fear was that you had to shoot somebody. Just you had to do your job, and you had to make a split-second decision to save your life or someone else's life, but that person happened to be the wrong color. And in the political climate that we were in 2020, I knew that your face would be all over the news. I knew that you could possibly lose your freedom and go to prison for the rest of your life as a political pawn, even though you just literally acted legally within the ramifications of the job and your training. And that was my biggest fear for you, was to know that you were sitting in prison for 40 or 50 years because of some prosecutor that wanted to get reelected or whatever, and they wanted to use you as an example.
Yeah. Me too, Mama. That was my concern as well. I mean, you look at George Floyd and the way he's being now glorified and
Yeah.
celebrated through
And 2 officers have lost their freedom.
in Minnesota. Yeah, you have officers who are now being imprisoned for extended periods of time. Their life is changed and affected forever. The lives of their families, all for them doing their jobs. And again, I'm speaking as somebody who, if you disagree with me on this, it's very likely because you have no experience in any kind of confrontation whatsoever, physical confrontation. And if you think for one second that I'm somebody who as in my role as a police officer, was not in the exact same position that those officers were in, as far as taking action and using the methods and techniques that they applied in order to physically restrain George Floyd, you'd be sorely mistaken, because I've been that guy in that circumstance
And
on
it's how
many
you were
occasions.
trained.
It's the way we were trained. Yeah. Bad things happen in
Right.
these situations, and again, it's unfortunate that somebody had to lose their life, but at the same time, you mess around, you find out,
Yeah.
as the old saying goes. So
Well, and now George Floyd is this hero. Everyone was sympathetic towards this man. He was this poor victim, but he was actually a career criminal. He was a violent man. He was a drug dealer, a drug user, and I mean, there's video of him. You can easily Google it. He's got a pew pew in the face of a cashier while he is strong arm robbing this man. He broke into a woman's house who he did not know. This is a random home invasion. Held a gun to her pregnant belly, threatened the life of her child if she did not give up her car keys and her wallet and everything else. This was not some gentle, nice. They show pictures of him all
of
smiling,
course,
and
yeah,
murals with literal angel wings, and
you've got to craft a narrative.
like, holy cow,
And you know what? That's all semantics. I love the people who will take all of that information. They'll say, "Oh,
makes no difference.
that's just character
Yeah,
assassination. You are trying to undermine what really matters here,
yeah,
which is the point of emphasis, this political narrative that we want to push
yeah.
out on the masses.
It's like, no, this is not
Don't
a
bring that stuff
political
up. That's not
narrative.
convenient. That's highly inconvenient
This
to
is
what it is
yeah, it's a
we're trying to
fact.
do. Right.
And his character
And
matters.
it matters.
And the fact that when he was pulled over, he had a bunch of fentanyl that was meant for distribution. It was all separately packaged that he decided to swallow. Well, we all know that fentanyl is extremely
Toxic.
toxic.
Yeah.
I mean, you can just smell it and die. There's been
Yeah.
officers where that has happened to. He ate a bunch of it, and then he dies an hour later. It's like, yeah, that's what happens. The autopsy proves that he died of an overdose and excited delirium, heart attack.
It's a
He did
thing.
not die
Look
from
into
a
it.
knee being on his back.
Okay, let's shift gears
All
here
right.
and talk about Lily Phillips. But before we do that, just to review. So Luigi Mangione, sympathy or no sympathy?
I have zero sympathy
Zero
for him.
sympathies.
Zero sympathy for this man. I do not think he is a hero. I think what he did was very wrong. He has no justification in doing it. Really wish women would stop glorifying this man. This is not somebody you want to date. Also, zero sympathy for like these other characters that have been brought up. I have sympathy for Daniel Penny. He now can't even walk the streets. He's being threatened. I
He
mean,
has my sympathies, as does
yeah.
Brian Thompson.
And Brian Thompson was walking and was shot in the back.
Okay.
So
Just for clarity's sake, let's shift gears. Like I said, let's talk about Lily Phillips, the OnlyFans model, content creator, however it is you would like to describe her. And this is going to be the portion of the show, again, as a reminder. If you have children in the room, we would ask that you do the right thing and maybe remove them, because this is going to be an adult discussion.
All right, guys, you have heard us raving about Delete Me for over a year now, and that is because we have been so happy with their online privacy service. So you know all those random phishing calls and emails that we all get? Well, they are not only very annoying, but they are a sign that our personal information is going around and being sold online, which puts you at a much higher risk for scammers and even worse, identity theft.
Yeah, so when we first signed up for Delete Me, they found hundreds of listings with our private data. Thankfully, their privacy experts were able to have them all removed on our behalf, saving us so much time and frustration. The cool thing about Delete Me is they're always continually scanning the web to make sure that our data doesn't pop up again.
So it is pretty much impossible to keep your private data out of the hands of data brokers and scammers, because these data brokers literally scour government sites, public information sites, and even your own social media pages in search of your name, birthday, past addresses, social security number, and even your family members. They then package it all up and create a profile on you, and then they sell it to other data brokers, companies, and sadly, even scammers.
Unfortunately, you can't always control whether you're the target of one of these data brokers, but you can make it more difficult by taking a proactive approach to securing your personal information, like we did with the help of Delete Me.
To give Delete Me a try and take the first steps towards protecting your personal information online, just click the link below or go to joindeleteme.com/GSL, and remember to use our code GSL to get 20% off all consumer plans.
Also, the portion where Jeremy and I don't see totally
We do
eye to
not
eye on
see
this. And
eye to
I
eye.
swear it's just a male versus female.
Well, that's the
stance.
reason I asked you about the whole Dateline NBC thing when it comes to like homicide storylines, because it doesn't necessarily make sense to me. And I find it ironic that you, in this case, actually have little or no sympathy for this gal.
I wouldn't say I have no sympathy for her, but I don't have the sympathy that the men are having for this woman.
Okay, fair enough. Details of exactly who it is that Lily Phillips is. So she is an OnlyFans content creator. Once again, I think she's based over in England, the UK.
She's an adult film star.
She recently did a stunt on camera where she she had intercourse with 101 men in a 14-hour period.
And you had to, it was a stunt to get members for her OnlyFans account, because you had to join her membership and then you could watch this.
Yeah, it's
live
paywall
experience.
access. And this is the nature of OnlyFans. So she sleeps with 101 men simultaneously. Apparently, ahead of time, she had made arrangements to have a documentary made on this event, which I think she took a lot of pride in going into it. But following the release of this documentary, it is revealed that upon being confronted and asked what her true, genuine thoughts are about the experience, she breaks down, begins to cry, says that she felt as though it was a form of prostitution. No kidding. And also that she did not recommend it for other females based on her experience. She explains that she became very disassociated during the experience, to where she really only had any recollection of being with maybe 5 or 6 men of the 101 that she was with in this 14-hour period. So she walks off after shortly breaking down. I actually have a clip of this. We'll pull up real quick. This is a very short clip, but it'll give you an idea. So she becomes emotional. She walks off and seeks out some privacy, I guess, because she wants to be off camera. She's becoming emotional. And my reaction to that in discussing it with you was, why is this girl not being comforted? Why is she not being reassured? Why is she not being told that she matters, that she cares? This is a very sad and tragic situation. The fact that she is so self-destructive in doing this to herself willingly is so incredibly sad to me.
Right.
You had the opposite
I think
reaction.
because you are a good man and you are a protective man and you see your role as as a man to protect women
Uh,
and protect women that you view as vulnerable
I
or
mean,
that have been abused in their past, or like you're a protector.
I appreciate that. I don't think that's what it is. I just think it's really sad that a human being has a willingness to do this to themselves and sell their soul, sell themselves out as though they have absolutely zero worth. This is the opposite of what it is to be a human being, a unique soul. You have value, and to make such a decision, I don't know what her background is, but if I had to assume, I would say that
Not very good.
there's probably a lot of very traumatic experiences in this girl's past, and come to find out, like, both of her parents, her mother and her father, are supportive of her online activities. Why? Because they stand to financially benefit
Yeah, her
themselves.
mother is her head of finance for her
Correct.
OnlyFans account.
So if that tells you anything, this is where this is where my sympathies are coming from. I wouldn't, if it was a guy, I'd probably feel the same way, even though
Would you?
given the actual activity, I suppose to a lesser extent, but I still would see a very broken individual, a person who is in need of counseling, guidance, prayer, reassurance, and a reminding of the fact that their life carries more value than this.
Okay, so hear me out on this.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, this is why I don't have very many sympathies for Lily Phillips. Maybe she did have a crappy upbringing. Maybe she didn't. Maybe they just saw this as a way to make a lot of money. OnlyFans has provided a lot of women that have perfectly fine backgrounds, nice families, a lot of money. When you put a bunch of greenbacks, I mean a bunch of
An
greenbacks
obscene amount of money.
behind an opportunity to make unedited videos from your room in 10, 15 minutes a day. And some of these women are making 40 and 50 million dollars annually.
But there's a horrific cost to be paid in the process.
Yes, but sometimes people can look past that for the money. So,
Okay, since we're discussing it, let me play this clip real quick here, so
okay.
we all have an idea about exactly what it is we're talking about.
All right,
So
yeah.
this girl just wrapped up her experience. I want to say this is the
She wearing a
same day
diaper?
or the next day. She comments and remarks on that, but no, she doesn't even get into detail specifically about that here.
It's not for the weak, girls. If I'm honest, it was hard.
Having sex with 100 men in a single day was not what OnlyFans model Lily Phillips expected it to be. After offering her male fans a chance to sleep with her, the 23-year-old details the not safe for work experience in a recent documentary with YouTuber Josh Peters. And according to Lily, the 14-hour stunt in which she gave each man 2 to 5 minutes to do the deed was not for the weak. She admits in a video published December 7th,
It's not for the weak, girls. If I'm honest, it was hard. I don't know if I'd recommend it.
Like more intense than you thought it might.
Definitely.
Really?
Sorry.
Okay. Just take
Yeah, 1 minute.
In fact, Lily had to excuse herself to cry in another room shortly after performing the feat, saying that it was definitely more intense than she thought. She can be seen getting emotional while explaining that she constantly feels pressure to give the men a good time.
I guess the interactions when like I'd have to stop them early and like you'd have to stand on business and be like, I'm so sorry, you got to go, and like the awkward interaction of like you feeling pressure to have to make them come if like you haven't spent enough time with them and feeling like they didn't, like you didn't give them a good time because like they only got 2 minutes.
The London-based influencer adds that several men even tried guilt-tripping her into extending their time together.
Yeah, and it's hard, I think, having the interactions with them when they're like, what, you're not going to make me finish, I've come all this way, like kind of like guilt tripping me a little bit. I think sometimes like feeling so like robotic, like by the, I think like the 30th, you know, like when we're getting on a bit, I've got like a routine of like how we're going to do this, and like it just, sometimes you'd like disassociate and be like, you know, like it's not like.
Okay, we get the picture. Personal accountability aside, like I'm not saying she carries none of the responsibility here, but this is a broken individual. This is a broken human being, and she deserves better for herself.
Okay, so hear me out. I think Lily Phillips is a really good actress. I think
Maybe
that
so. Maybe I'm
she
totally wrong.
strummed up those tears. Like, it's not for the weak girls. Okay, one, you're not strong for doing this. Two, maybe you just don't want competition. You don't want other women trying this stunt because this is your shtick. Um, I wasn't buying the big alligator tears and the
Okay.
crying because it's not like she, after this experience, went on and said, "This was a mistake. This was wrong. I don't want to see young women doing this." She took her money and then decided that she was going to one up it.
Double
She was
down.
going to 100 up it. So now instead of 101 guys, she wants to break the Guinness Book of World Records or whatever. I hope this doesn't actually make the book.
There's an actual okay. So let me respond to that. Because I tend to pride myself on being able to read people. I'm not saying that she isn't acting. I'm not saying that those aren't crocodile tears. What I'm saying is that there is a cost to be paid with such activity. And she describes being disassociated, like I referenced. Maybe she's been lying about that part. But you cannot go through an experience like that and willingly subject yourself to such an experience without there being massive drawbacks that will last a lifetime. You have zero respect for yourself.
Right.
Factually, right? Like you cannot argue that. This girl has zero respect for herself.
Well, I mean, I think it kind of depends on how deep her depravity goes. If she could actually be very proud of herself and be like, look what I'm able to do. I'm able to manipulate people. I'm able to make men feel sorry for me. I'm able to use all of these men. Like everyone's demonizing the men that participated as if she's a victim and they're victimizing her.
She may feel like that.
Perhaps she's using her female powers to victimize them. So she got all these people to come also degrade themselves. And who made all the money? Lily Phillips did. Who got the fame? Who got the attention? Who got the documentary?
Yeah, and
Lily Phillips.
there are people, especially on the left, actually, that are saying the same thing. You know, like this is a power move on her part.
I think it's a
This is,
power
this
move.
is
I
so
think it's a
liberating and empowering.
feminist.
That's not going to be the end result ultimately. I'm sorry, regardless of how you feel in the even currently. Let's say she does feel a sense of pride with what it is she managed to pull off. Do you think that years from now, when she is looking back upon her life, she's going to have the same amount of pride? Because I don't.
I think it depends on if she's a sociopath or not. I mean, if she is, which, those people can be very manipulative. They can they always turn themselves into the victim. And they use that as a power move to further their agenda. So if she is a true sociopath, she may feel no remorse, but she's able to pretend she does because men are buying this whole damsel in distress thing. If
Yeah.
she truly felt bad, she truly had any ounce of remorse or any level of that's the other thing with sociopaths is they're not capable of self-reflection.
Mhm.
There is no
Yeah,
self-reflection.
no, fair point. Fair point.
And she now wants to sleep with 1,000 men in a 24-hour period using a conveyor belt.
A conveyor belt
That
system.
doesn't
So
scream, I
I'm
feel
with
bad.
you on this.
Like,
I sincerely hope that there are people in her life who genuinely care about her and are providing her with just guidance and trying to reiterate that, hey, you as a human being, your life has value, your life should have purpose that goes far beyond what it is that you're currently doing to yourself
yeah.
willingly. This yeah,
I mean, you can
it's
say the same of the Kardashians. They became filthy rich based on Kim making this video that got leaked.
there are a lot of people.
But
This is
then it turns out there were actually 4 or 5 videos with different men, and her and Kris Jenner and
yeah,
the
billionaires,
stepdad. What's his name?
stepdad now stepmom.
Yeah, but
I don't Bruce Jenner,
Bruce Jenner
or whatever it is now.
literally decided which film to leak because they knew this was going to make her famous. This was all
It's made all of them famous. It's
it's
made
made
them a billion-dollar family.
all of them. And it was
So,
all by design and victimization by the parents, you could
but again,
say.
this is the nature of social media and the problems with platforms like OnlyFans, right? We've discussed it. Not only OnlyFans, we've discussed it here on this podcast that when you incentivize your personal life and your personal activities with money
Mhm.
and say, hey, the raunchier, the more self-exploitative you become,
Yeah.
the more you stand to gain and benefit financially. People
Yeah.
are going to be willing to do certain things to themselves, to their
Mhm.
families, to varying extents. But obviously this is an extreme
Extreme
example, but this is
example.
the evil aspect of social media and the internet as a whole. It's not all bad. A lot of it is very, very good. We've managed to have amazing experiences come together collectively to do amazing, great things. But I can't honestly say that there aren't aspects of the internet that will cause you to act or behave differently
Mhm.
than you ordinarily would if you didn't have a camera pointed at you and you didn't stand to uh, gain and come out ahead financially.
That's true. It's very true. And I think OnlyFans definitely has made that worse. I think it's a very evil thing. I'm not somebody who thinks, like, I do believe in free speech and freedom of expression and all of that,
As do
but I'm
I.
not somebody who thinks that things that should. I don't understand why prostitution is illegal, but OnlyFans isn't, or that like the entire pornography industry is not illegal. Because if you're making a video selling yourself, like if you make a business arrangement to receive money in exchange for sex, and then you're recording that and you're putting it out in a video, that's still prostitution. If you're an adult film star, you are a prostitute,
Yeah.
male or female. And if you're on OnlyFans making adult content, videos and pictures, most of it's videos now. I mean, it's just become a paid membership personal Pornhub where you manage it yourself.
Completely. Yeah.
And a lot of these videos and these creators are on those websites. I mean, there are literally creators in the homestead, home build genre that make 10 times the money on OnlyFans that they make on YouTube.
That's a bigger discussion to be had here.
It's a bigger, but what I'm saying is like they're using their YouTube platform to push people over to their
It's a
OnlyFans.
funnel, and people don't realize it, which is really bizarre.
A lot
to
of
me.
the viewers on YouTube don't realize it. I've had people write me and say, you should partner with this channel. They're local and whatever. And I'm like, do you not realize that they're adult film stars? Like, we would never partner with them.
Yeah.
And then like there's another one where they live really far out. It's not one of the obvious players.
Okay. No, we're not
you
gonna
know,
get. No,
but like,
there-
let's just like, but people don't know it.
Yeah. No.
And I
there's-
don't think they feel bad for it. I think that
Again, when
that
you
it's
when
a
you
tool.
when you have a financial incentive to do things that you wouldn't ordinarily do and post yourself to the internet, there are people. We get it all the time. There's a steady stream of recommendations that come from people of like, hey, you guys would get along really well with these people, and it's like you have no idea who some of these people are. Like, oh, they're great. Again, I'm not going to get into detail, but it's like
yeah, it's like no.
That's not everybody. It just makes for a very interesting space, and a lot of that is lost in the audience. We're getting lost in the weeds.
Yes, the online space can get really weird, and it can corrupt certain kinds of people.
It's kind of why we stick to ourselves for the most part.
Yeah, it's really sad what it has done to people's psyches and to people's morality. Money,
and
the
influence.
love of money.
Everybody thinks
can
that
change.
they're important because you can refer to yourself as an influencer, and so you must be more important than other people because you're influencing others, right?
Yeah, I don't know that I would consider an OnlyFans person an influencer.
No, I'm not speaking to OnlyFans. I'm talking about just the landscape as a whole, let's say.
Yeah, I don't know. So back to Lily Phillips. Sympathy. Yes, you feel sympathy for her?
I feel certain levels of sympathy toward her. Maybe I'm getting played here, but I think even like when you bring up people that just work in the adult industry, in any like
You always feel sorry for the women, always, but
no, I
never
feel
the
sorry.
men.
Yeah, because I mean, let's be real about it. It is the women that are being exploited more so than the men. You're referencing the guys that are partaking in this. They have a different motivation behind it, right? It's not financial.
It's so gross, though.
They will probably come away from it with their anonymity primarily
Yeah.
intact. She's not. She's going to be out there online forever for the remainder of her beyond her life at this point.
Yeah, that never goes away.
You can't name a single guy that took part in this event. There's
Yeah.
a reason for that. And maybe is there. I think there is a genuine amount of shame on her part to come along with
I don't think
putting this out there.
she can name a single guy. Like, I
No,
don't even
for
think
sure.
she views
That's
these.
what I'm saying.
I feel
think-
like she doesn't view the men as human beings.
Here's the reason I have some sympathy toward her. Number one, I do genuinely believe that there is an aspect of shame to come along with her internally, even if it's heavily suppressed. Also, yeah, again, if I had to assume, there is probably a very extensive history of trauma in her life and having family members around her that have instilled within her that her life has very little value. The fact that her parents benefit financially and are supportive of what it is that she's doing with putting on events like this speaks volumes to me. And for that reason, yeah, I've got some sympathy for the girl.
You guys, we are just a couple of days away from Christmas, so I did want to remind you that we are partnered with Prison Fellowship's Angel Tree program, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about what that actually means because we did have a lot of questions last week around it. I think when people hear the word prison, they're kind of like, I don't know if I want to give my donation this way. But Angel Tree is a beautiful organization that literally allows moms and dads that are incarcerated and have made some mistakes in their lives to gift their child a Christmas present, a handwritten note, and a Bible for Christmas. And this goes so far in healing that relationship because behind a lot of these incarcerated moms and dads are little kids, and at no fault of their own, they are having Christmas without the love of their mom and dad, and so often without a gift from them. And so you can help provide for just $30 a gift, a handwritten note from a mom and dad that is really being missed this time of year, and a Bible to a child. And this is such a powerful way of just healing that relationship and sharing the love of Jesus. So remember, just $30 can help make or break a Christmas for a little kiddo out there. So all you have to do is click the link down in our description below if you want to give online, or you can text GIFT to 717767. We will then send you back a link where you can easily donate. Or you can also phone a generous gift to 888-206-2802. So remember, you can also simply click the link below, and just $30 buys a gift, a handwritten note, and a Bible.
I mean, I feel sorry for her as a whole, like in the depths of her soul. I think she's gonna have to dig real deep to find that spot because I mean, doubling down on it and doing another event that's way bigger.
Yeah,
Like I just
don't do it. Like I said,
yeah.
I hope there's somebody in her ear that is trying to set her straight and set her on the straight and narrow path of
Mhm.
just living a better life.
I think that would be a really powerful thing because I think the industry as a whole, whether it's OnlyFans or it's just any of it, I mean,
YouTube.
any of it, I think no, I'm talking about anything like around the
Okay,
pornography industry.
gotcha.
It does so much
So
damage
YouTube.
to the hearts and minds of young men and young women.
Yeah.
It's so often the first thing that kids stumble upon, or they don't, they seek it out. They do. We're not idiots on devices and things like that at
Yes.
very young ages.
Yes.
You're saying that like you have some
It's
experience there.
no, it's because that is my biggest reluctance with. I mean, we didn't give Nevaeh we didn't give her a phone with any kind of a connection until she was 16 years old. We now have a 14-year-old son, but yeah, it's my big concern from a parental standpoint. Yeah, when you hand that device over to a child, you're opening that child up to the world in its entirety,
Yeah, they don't have
good,
the self
bad,
control
evil. They
for.
don't, and of course, being a young mind that is wandering and trying to figure things out, figure life out,
Mhm.
you're going to stumble upon some things that from my perspective, I most definitely don't want to see your eyeballs being attached to.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah. It literally poisons the mind and the heart of young people to where they develop a completely different view of what these relationships should look like, what
yeah.
marriage should look like, what dating should look like,
Yep.
how you should treat the opposite sex.
Hmm.
Um, it's very, very damaging. So my sympathy so often doesn't lie with the people creating the content, male or female, because I feel like what they're doing is so toxic and so poisonous that I have a harder time worrying about like what it's doing to their souls and more of what is it doing to all of the people that
From
they're
the
exposing it
consumer
to.
standpoint,
Marriages that have been completely destroyed.
yeah. But why can you address all of it as just blanket it all as being evil and realize
It's
that
all evil.
realize that we are all human beings and we're all susceptible to those evils.
I just think that I struggle as a mother to I guess I just become more angry at people that contribute to it.
Yeah, I
The
get it.
producers and everybody,
I get it.
anyone making it.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that.
So, and then yeah, if you're making family content or, this wholesome content on YouTube and then you're turning around and you're making this just raunchy content and you happen to be a parent. I mean, if you think your daughters aren't going to stumble upon those videos of you, it's evil and you're victimizing way more than yourself for financial gain.
Yeah.
You're reaping all the benefits. You're getting the money, but meanwhile you're poisoning a society of people.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I wish the whole thing was illegal. I wish it wasn't allowed online. Even though I am a free speech advocate, that's not speech. Free speech was like you're able to express your words,
Mm.
especially for like the sake of justice and stuff. I think we've taken this whole free speech thing, and when you apply it to something like pornography or whatever, like that's not what the founding fathers were talking about.
No, it's a tough one,
They
man.
meant like you could speak up against like government wrongs
It
and
really is a tough one.
you
No, because
know.
I'm you know me, I'm avid when it comes to personal liberties and I guess personally would rather have it be more like the Wild West side of things. Like you point out, you
I
and
just feel
Nevaeh,
like there's victims in that.
there are, but you
You're now
cannot,
victimizing
start
somebody else.
chipping away at the freedoms of everyday America.
You-
It's really
You
tough.
could make that argument for pro-choice then. You could say, well, you can't chip away at these women's rights, but there's someone else involved. There's a
No,
victim
because there
involved.
is illegal activity and there is immoral activity that results in the death
But
of
that's
a
not one
fellow
of 'em.
human being. Sure, it is because it
It's
results
not
in
illegal.
it's not illegal. But I would say for that from a moral standpoint that yeah, it's like I said, I kind of I'm a conservative libertarian in the sense that like, hey, you want to do stuff to yourself, you want to dress like the opposite sex, you want to say you are the opposite sex, gender, what have you. You want to do things that I personally would consider immoral, fine, so long as it doesn't adversely affect somebody else. In the case of abortion, yeah, is it a personal decision? Sure, but you're making that decision way ahead of time when you decide to partake in intercourse. That's the decision that you made. Once we're past that now, and you are looking at potentially making a life-ending decision on behalf of for somebody else, your very own child, that's where I say the difference is. If simple sexual immorality, is that a word? Immorality, we'll go with it.
Yeah.
That does adversely affect yourself. Does it affect the people on the consumer end of things? Yeah, but they're also making their own decisions. Nowhere does it result in the death of another human being. I guess that's where I would say the difference is.
Actually, people have like
Killed
committed
themselves.
suicide and stuff. From,
Sure, but again, that's you affecting yourself, not somebody else. It's not a healthy thing. I'm not trying to make the case that this is a healthy environment.
I just have a hard time like how you could be like pro-life and like obviously you can't rape somebody because there's a victim, right?
Yes.
You can't. Well, I mean, you can, but we'll argue that you shouldn't abort a child because there's another life
Yes.
involved in that. But with like the porn industry, like I guess I just feel like it's the same, that there are victims on the other side of that.
100%. Yeah.
And so you're not just hurting yourself. And then
You are hurting
like
yourself.
with the transgender thing too, like, yeah, that's fine if you want to transition, but once you start talking about transitioning minors,
That's a problem for
they
me.
should not be able to consent to that.
Yeah.
They can't reasonably consent
You
to
know
that.
how I feel about all these things.
Also, like men using women's bathrooms. Now you're
Not-
victimizing women.
You're
They feel
affecting
unsafe.
somebody else. Yeah.
Or sports.
It's yeah, it's you will always be able to find like little chinks of like inconsistency and like flawed logic.
I
Sure,
just
but for
feel
the
like
most
that's
part,
like the one industry where I don't understand we can say it's victimless
it's not victimless.
and that
There
it
are-
should be perfectly legal.
It's a plight upon society as a whole. Like it's awful. The things that happen to the people that are involved are awful. Their backgrounds are awful. The fact that it becomes self-perpetuating, all of it is awful. All I'm saying is that it becomes a slippery slope when you start chipping away at personal freedoms of us as individuals. And so for that reason, I guess when it comes to certain things, like I'm a little more willing. I still don't like it, but I'm a little more willing to call it permissible.
Do you think that prostitution should be illegal, or do you think that should be legalized because it's to a consenting adult?
It depends on prostitution itself isn't the problem. It's all of the problems that come along with prostitution. It's
It's
kind of
the
like
same
it's kind
thing
of
with
like
drugs, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like
legalizing
drugs. It's exactly how I look at it. Like it's not even like the drug use of the individual that's the problem. It's all the problems that come along with that.
Yeah.
I don't want to see any of it. But these are things that exist in our society, and yeah, they're difficult topics to grapple with. But again, I just don't like when, like the gun control argument, right? Like bad things happen with guns, so now nobody gets to have guns. Like, no, not okay. Not
I see what you're
that's not okay.
saying. I don't know. I think it's just one. It's such depravity that I would like to see it not
Yeah.
be legal
I'm with you.
in a civilized society.
I'm with you. We agree.
Okay.
We agree
All right.
in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way with like the whole food thing. Like it's totally off topic, but like everyone's really excited about like RFK is going to make us healthy again. And all I know is like when we go and eat in Canada, and my family's from Canada, but the salt and stuff is so low there that like when we eat the food, we're like,
We went up. So obviously we're here in North Idaho. We drove up. The nearest McDonald's to us, believe it or not, is in Canada. It's in another country. And so the kids and I were like, hey, let's go get like some Happy Meals. Like this would be a cool little treat. We drove up there and got McDonald's, expecting McDonald's. And what we got
was a lie meal.
was the weirdest thing. It was the most bland food ever. Canadians, I don't know if you
Canadian.
realize this about your food, but your food couldn't be more bland.
No, I know. It's so funny. But I bet they come to the US and are like,
Yeah,
ugh. Like,
so much salt.
what's with the sodium? And they're all like just pounding electrolytes afterwards.
No, I hope we do make some changes with our food, but it's man.
I don't know. I just heard. Okay, so I was talking to the kids about it because the kids were like, "This is going to be so great because RFK is going to get rid of like red dye 3 and like the yellow dye and all these preservatives and stuff like that." And I think that that's good. But then I went, "Wait a minute. He works for the government, or he will be working for the government, and we're talking about regulating everything we're eating." With government regulations, which is going to be like a massive arm of the government. Like that's just big government telling us what we can and can't eat as adults.
Yeah.
And like, isn't that a slippery slope?
I like Ron Swanson's whole thing about like, if I want to eat, I forget the exact quote. If I want to eat fast food all day and balloon up to 300 pounds, that is my right as an American. To me, that is beautiful. And I agree with him. Like,
I do. And
but at the same time,
I
it's really
do and I
tragic what happens to
don't.
kids and stuff.
Yeah. And then I thought like, okay, but are we going to have true freedom for food? Are we going to have true food freedom? Are we going to be
Probably
able to
not.
buy processed meat?
I mean, we
You
don't
know?
right now. We don't currently as it
Right.
stands. So
But if the government becomes so involved in our diet and what we're eating, are we going to be able to get eggs and meat and stuff from our neighbors still? Are, like, or is everything going to be government regulated because, well, it has to under this new plan?
yeah.
And so I heard Joel Salatin actually talk about that. Like, we need to be careful with the whole RFK, like, make America healthy again, because that could just mean large government control.
Joel Salatin, friend of the show.
Love Joel.
Friend of the show.
But I love that they're bringing Joel in.
Yeah,
too.
that's great.
They're-
The fact that people like him are being tapped for their input
Yep.
is beautiful. Man.
We
I
had
love
Joel
that.
Salatin on the show. If you missed that podcast,
That
go
guy's so
watch
great.
it. He's so great.
He's so nice.
But,
One of the
like-
nicest people, even like off camera as well. He's like such a nice, genuine guy.
He was tapped by like the whole Make America Healthy Again thing and to come in as a consultant. And I think that's really great because Joel is truly about food freedom
Talk about libertarian.
and eating healthy and all
Yeah.
that stuff. But he doesn't want to do it via big government. He wants
Yes.
to do it via more
Freedom.
freedoms
And
of
education.
independent farmers.
Yes, and awareness. Yeah.
Yep, things like that.
Yep.
So yeah, that's totally off topic, but it was just something that I was having a debate with our kids. Apparently, I don't just can't see eye to eye with anyone in the family right now.
No, it's not about. I think we're all on the same page for the most part. We just
Yeah.
have little differences of opinion here and there. But
Yeah.
it's and these issues, like I said, they're really tough to navigate. They are because you don't want to infringe upon the rights of your average everyday law-abiding American and
I-
based on the actions
Yeah.
and poor decision making of others.
Like I want to see preservatives lowered and stuff
Yeah,
in our
man.
food. I want to see the dyes that are affecting the brains of our children. I want to see the mercury that is being stashed in the brains of our kids after 72 mandated vaccines. Like
Yeah.
I want to see that stuff gone, but I don't want to see it gone via larger government
Mandate.
regulation.
Yeah.
So it's
I don't like
It's a-
mandates.
it's a hard thing.
Period. Ever.
It's a
You
double.
have to allow for people to make their own decisions.
Oh
Which
my
to
gosh.
circle back, this is the reason I feel the way that I do. When it comes
Yeah.
to a lot of
Okay,
these things.
so now we've been going on and on and on for an hour. I am like, woo, on this coffee, and which is so good. Now I want another cup. But we haven't gotten to drones yet.
We'll hold on to drones.
Oh, I really want to talk about the drones.
I know it's so bizarre what's happening, but we don't really have all the information. Like I said, we're gonna hold off. We'll see if more comes to light.
Yeah.
I'm concerned about it though. Is nobody else concerned? Like I feel like this is why I always think that we are crazier than your average people. Because everyone's just going on living their lives. Meanwhile, you and
People
I
in
are like
Jersey
on our
are
phones, like,
concerned.
what is going on?
Are they spraying things?
Why are we not
Are these videos
concerned?
real? Are these videos not real? Are these like old videos?
We have unmanned aircraft coming in, coming over our shores from God knows where, being run by God knows who for God knows what reason. I feel like there should be not hysteria, but some concern.
Well, I think there is for the people that are affected in those areas, but yeah, there's reports that there's like some mothership off the East Coast. People are saying that it's
I'm
Iran.
not saying it's aliens.
It's
But
not
it's
aliens.
alien. It's not aliens. I don't think it's aliens.
I
I'm
don't
just
think it's
making a joke.
aliens. I know that a lot of people are like, it's Project Bluebeam, like this is it, like it's fake aliens the government's doing, and this is like some government because the timing is interesting with the inaugurations coming up.
Yeah.
And all of that, and it's like it's this desperation to like declare a state of emergency via UFOs. I don't
No.
think so.
Well,
Like,
let's wind this one down here. We're going
yeah,
into the
we
holiday.
could, we
I
could
tell
really
you what,
go
if you
into
guys have
this
made it
one.
this far into the hour plus long podcast, let us know what you think the drones are. And that would be your way of
Yeah.
letting us know, hey, I actually stuck around and listened to you guys for an hour for whatever reason.
Yeah,
So,
let us know. Do you think it's UFOs? Do you think it's our own government just doing some drills or like running some Tess, or do you think that it is Iran coming for payback?
Let us know down in the comments. Also, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. We appreciate you guys being here once again, especially if you've made it this far. Merry Christmas to everyone out there.
Yeah.
We want to wish you a safe holiday. Go ahead.
So
Schedule.
next week, because we just need to relax, rest with our kids. We want to enjoy the holiday without cameras and all of that. We are not going to be posting on Wednesday on the podcast because it's literally Christmas Day. And we don't want you guys watching podcasts on Christmas Day. On Christmas Day, we hope that you guys are with your families. Let's not sit on our couches while people are cooking and be on these devices. Let's throw these like into a room, take your kids' devices. Let's have like a good old-fashioned de-screened Christmas
Yeah.
with our families.
Oh, I could do an hour on just that topic right there.
Oh my gosh, I
Maybe that'll
know,
be a
I
future
know. Oh,
episode.
yeah, it goes into like the study of what it does to our brains and everything. We should get an expert on that. But I really do hope that you guys turn everything off for Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. Let's just enjoy our family. So we're not going to be posting because we don't want to be contributing, and we want to enjoy our family as well.
Amen.
All right.
All right. Regardless, we
We'll see
appreciate you being
We'll
here.
see you New Year's Day because that's an irrelevant holiday.
Yeah, we'll see
No,
you
we're
guys.
just
We'll see you guys. What is it? New Year's
It's
Day.
New Year's
Okay, we'll
Day.
see you. I guess here on the podcast, we'll see you guys New Year's Day, and love and appreciate you. God bless all of you out there. Have a safe holiday. Enjoy time with
Merry
your family.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas. We say Christmas here.
Yes, we do.
We say Merry Christmas.
Merry
Don't forget it back.
Merry Christmas.
How dare we? How dare we say Merry Christmas? All right. We'll see you guys next time. Take care.
Oh, it is living in the new world with an whole soul. These rich men north of Richmond